Ready? Good evening. Welcome to W.T. Brown Elementary School. I'm Mark Whitley, the Director of Operations and Planning for Cumberland County Schools, and we're here tonight to talk about the proposed reassignment plan for Lee and Black Elementary School 2022 and 2023. Lindsay, it's not working. First of all, I want to talk about the W.T. Brown area and the Lee and Black area in Spring Lake. W.T. Brown is actually located right off North Carolina Highway 87, and we're here tonight. And Lee and Black is near downtown Spring Lake. And to show you a little bit about the area that the students who come to W.T. Brown, shown in the red, we actually have two islands that come. The first island's Eureka Springs. It's out near Honeycutt Road. It used to be part of Howard Hall Elementary and the College Lakes Elementary. We received a lot of questions about possibly moving students away from the island areas and actually bringing all students to Spring Lake. But we actually are overcrowded in around those two areas. Howard Hall Elementary is one of our fastest growing districts. It has the most huts of all of our schools. And College Lakes Elementary right now is probably our number one concern as far as overcrowding goes. The second island is Bonnie Dune Elementary, which is off Fort Bragg Boulevard. And it used to be part of Eastham and Van Story Elementary schools. Eastham right now is a little lower because of the COVID situation, but however, they were completely full and they have a very small campus. And that we have no room for huts for any kind of growth there. And the surrounding schools, Ponderosa is at capacity, and so is West Area Elementary School. Okay, so currently there are 175 students in Lee and Black. Oops, I got it. And tonight we're going to be talking about three plans. Plan A is to reassign all students at Lee and Black Elementary Schools to W.T. Brown Elementary. Plan B is to assign all those same students to Lee and Black and also reassign the southernmost portion of the Manchester Elementary District to W.T. Brown. And Plan C is to reassign those two areas plus to also reassign the T.C. Barron Elementary students to W.T. Brown. And those students are currently attending W.T. Brown as a school within a school here. So let's look at Plan A. Plan A is the reassignment of all of Lee and Black to W.T. Brown. Currently, W.T. Brown has 207 students, Lee and Black 175, and that would create a total enrollment of 382. The building capacity at W.T. Brown is 665. And always we like to take a look at the demographics of the effects of the plan. I'll give you just a minute to look at that.
They got better eyes than I got. Oh, yeah.
And here's a map, excuse me. Here's a map of the full scope of the plan, just to shows you have the two islands, the Bonnie Dune Island and the Eureka Springs Island, and then the area of Lee and Black would all be in W.T. Brown. Considerations is, of course, the movement of 175 students, the closing of Lilly and Black Elementary, better utilization of W.T. Brown. The farthest point out from W.T. Brown would be 7.2 miles. There's no changes in feeder school alignment, so If you're in the Spring Lake Middle School District, you're still in the Spring Lake Middle School District. If you're in Pine Forest High School, you're still in Pine Forest High School. You're in E.E. Smith, you're still in E.E. Smith. No change. And there's no significant change expected in bus routes. And we're going to look at Plan B. Now, the same area from Lee and Black, all Lee and Black is reassigned to W.T. Brown. Also, the southernmost most part of the Manchester district is also assigned to W.T. Brown. And what do I mean by most southernmost part? That's the area southeast of Lillington Highway. It includes Grog Street, Betty Street, Wilson Avenue Extension, the Stonegate Apartments. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, guys. We didn't have this yesterday. Thank you.
Mhm. So the current enrollment at W.T. Brown is 207, 175 students from Lee and Black, 78 from Manchester, gives us a total of 460 students. Capacity at W.T. Brown is 665. This would bring Manchester down to 281, which would allow some room for growth. And be honest, with the COVID situation, if we have flow back, that would allow us to have space for that. And we're going to take a look at the demographics of that move.
Mr. Whitney, can you just hit the highlights of that since they're not able to see it?
Okay. Yes, basically, so W.T. Brown's currently about 72% Black. They would be around 62% Black after this move, 5% white currently, around 10% after this move, 15% Hispanic. They would be around 18% after the move. As far as the economics, would stay basically the same. Manchester would increase from 56% Black to 57%, and they would go from 10%, two or more races, down to 9%. All the others would remain the same. And economic index would be slight increase from 4.3 to 4.4. And a picture of the full area of scope. The only difference is you're adding in the Manchester piece. It's the same areas otherwise. And so the considerations of moving of 253 students, the closing of Lee and Black Elementary, better utilization of W.T. Brown. W.T. Brown offers more educational opportunity. The furthest distance is still 7.2 miles. No change in feeder school alignment, and no significant change in bus routes expected. We'll answer questions in just a minute. Plan C. Same as Plan B, you got you're still closing Lee and Black, and all the students are reassigned to W.T. Brown. You're still moving the southernmost portion of the Manchester district to W.T. Brown, but you're also moving T.C. Berrien students to W.T. Brown as well. Now, currently they're already housed here, but they do operate as a school within a school here. And that involves 178 students. So numbers wise, 207 current enrollment at W.T. Brown, 175 students from Lee and Black, 78 from Manchester, 178 from T.C. Berrien. Total proposed enrollment 638 with a building capacity of 665. And Manchester, like Plan B, would go from 359 to 281. The demographics is pretty much like Plan B, actually. W.T. Brown would go from 72% Black to 67% Black, would increase to 9% white from 5% white, would increase from, well, basically stay the same on Hispanic, would increase to 8% from 7% on two or more. In this plan, though, the economic level index would drop from 3.0 to 2.5. The Manchester would be the same as Plan B, go from 54% Black to 57% Black, and would go from 10% 2 or more, down to 9% 2 or more, and all the rest would stay the same. And it would increase slightly on the economic index from 4.3 to 4.4. Okay. Basically, if you're looking at the full scope of the map, it's the same as Plan B here with the Manchester area and the Lillian Black area. You still have the 2 islands, but you would actually add in the W.T. Brown portion. So the considerations of the plan is the movement of 431 students, the closing of Lillian Black Elementary, of course, better utilization of the W.T. Brown facility. It does increase transportation costs because of busing from T.C. Berrien to W.T. Brown. There's no change to the current feeder schools. And the farthest distance for the T.C. Berrien students is 9.9 miles. Now we open up the floor for clarification questions. I'll move to this side.
Good evening. I have a question. You mentioned
They do it. It's not mine. I'll be that one.
I'm loud. I can speak, so you can hear me.
Okay.
I just have a question. You keep saying more educational opportunities like coming here. I wanted you to expand on what that means.
What? You want to?
The facility here, I showed is our more the.
Let's answer that.
And basically what you have is a significant difference in the time frame when the schools were built. And this school has a lot of the program spaces probably that are a lot larger and better functioning than in Lillian Black. Multi-purpose room areas, stage areas, your common areas, your core spaces like the media center. Your classrooms allow you more flexibility. The school operates more efficiently, better space. You have the ability to adapt your academic program better.
And what about for special needs students?
Special needs students, it should be just the same, it should apply to them.
Well, for me specifically, my daughter, she's in mainstream classrooms, but she requires a diaper change. So I know when I first came to Lillian Black first, they said I might have to go to Brown, which was here. And when I spoke to a lady in the office, at that time, she said that we don't know if we're gonna be able to keep your daughter in a mainstream classroom here, and we would probably have to put her in a special needs classroom, even though she's not technically special needs, she's physically disabled due to her bladder needs.
Again, I would have expected this facility would be more adapted to that, but we could sit down and talk to you separately about that issue. All right. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Laura Tennyson. I'm a retired school counselor from Lillian Black Elementary School. You showed a beautiful presentation. It was awesome. But you're not getting to the crux of what we need to hear. Why are you shutting down a school of great uniqueness that offers a quality education to all those in Spring Lake? It serves as a beacon of hope and consistency. So please tell me why you are closing this little school that stands for so many years.
It's great when our community falls in love with their schools, supports them strong, has a great culture going there. And it does, when you have change, sometimes that expresses those concerns which you're talking about, and we understand that. Again, we go back to the fact that you have a facility that will provide you a lot better chance at educational opportunities here, okay, than Lily and Black. Lily and Black, right now, we did a capital improvement assessment of all the facilities in the district. Lily and Black is in the top 3 when it comes to the needs, the work that needs to be done on the facility. It is in poor shape, has a lot of systems that need to be replaced, all right? We feel like with the fact that there is space available here, an opportunity to provide even better educational opportunity, that closing Lily and Black is the best action, and move those students over here and use this facility to its fullest advantage.
So my question would be that, why has it got to this point? So if the building is in such bad shape, why has it got to this point? Because I've been there my 40th year now. I went to school there in the 6th grade. And it stands for something. And at Lily and Black, and I know people coming in don't understand, it's always been a family school. So my question, back to my question is, why has it got to that point? Because I know for a fact that I've even put some, wanted to know, why won't you come out and paint Lily and Black? Why won't you come out and do this to Lily and Black? But it's always the same thing. So why has it got to this point?
The best way I can answer that question to you is that it's not just Lily and Black, all right? The entire district has a large capital improvement need. As I said, we did an assessment of the entire district. And currently we receive about $10 million a year in capital. About $8 million of that is used for facilities that is spread out through the entire county. We have over $530 some million worth of work identified in all the schools throughout the county. Half of the schools, people could legitimately almost argue that this should be the #1 school to be fixed or repaired, okay? So the need is not just Lily and Black, it is across the entire district. We are now working with our county commissioners and their staff. We have put together a 5-year, multi-year CIP program, identifying projects throughout the district. Those projects using that assessment were prioritized. That's why I know Lily and Black is in the top 3 when it comes to needs. And those projects were looked at. There would be other consolidations that would be considered throughout the county in order to improve the facilities that are out there. So it's a need that's across the district. I'll be quite honest with you, it's across the state and it's across the nation. Unfortunately, the investment in school infrastructure has been lagging for years. And it's one of the big issues out there facing the entire nation. That's the best way I can answer your question there about Lily and Black.
As far as COVID goes, you're talking about moving over 400 students, and there will be over 600 students here. How do you plan to not let COVID spread when it's spread in schools smaller than 600 students? Because I feel like they're students and they're still going to get COVID, and with that many students in one place, it's going to be a lot easier to get COVID. So what is the protocol now, because you're adding so many new students to one school?
The same protocol is in place throughout the district, regardless of the size and the number of students. The same masking, spacing as possible, but the guidelines have recently changed, lowering a lot of that expectation of spacing stuff. But masking is the main thing. The 3 W's are the main process, and that will remain the same. So there really is no change in that.
Good evening. I just asked that you lay out the specifics. What were the key factors in putting Lillian Black so high up on this list of things that need to be fixed? What are some of the major issues that they're facing, major enough to, decide to shut the school down?
It covers predominantly all the different systems. What we did was for every school, we looked at, 50 systems
Something like that.
throughout the school: roofing, air conditioning, flooring, plumbing, electrical, on and on. All the systems in the school, painting, whatever it is, all of them were looked at. They were looked at based on their age, when they were installed, and their life cycle. This is purely based on life cycle that's out there. So if something is supposed to last 20 years and it's reaching or near its 20-year point, it gets a higher priority. If it's only 5 years old, it gets a lower priority. All of this was identified that there's over 12,000 line items in the assessment of all of this stuff throughout the district. And more than half of it is beyond their life. So it's not, like I said, it's not uncommon to see this across the district.
Yes, I'm Amanda. My kids go to Manchester Elementary School. I'm just curious as to why we're leaving almost 300 kids there and bringing just a few here when their school itself is almost 60 years old. And then my daughters did go here for pre-K and they were not even bused. I had to bring them, but yet we're busing a bunch of Fayetteville kids in here, but
It's not
the
working.
Spring Lake area kids are being neglected.
I don't know if you heard, were you in here earlier? We kind of touched on that, but we'll touch on it again for you. If you'll back up to the show, the donut.
I don't,
Oh,
it's not
okay.
working.
Is this it?
No, I think Lindsay must have moved it.
Mr. Alamo, let me,
I'm Marvin Collins, superintendent. Let me tell you another factor in the decision about the recommendation to move the
Keep going
student
back.
from Lillian Black. The other thing we look at
Maybe.
is the instructional program. We want all of our students to have access to a 21st century learning environment. And many of the program opportunities that students need to be exposed to, the facilities
The best view we
at
got,
Lillian
we got another
Black
view that shows it.
will not accommodate that.
Just,
Everything from the arts,
It's not on that.
STEM,
plan C.
science,
Plan B.
technology, engineering, math.
Oh, you're changing.
Programs,
That,
curriculum programs that are available in education today. Can't do that in the facility at Lillian Black. But we do have the facility here at W.T. Brown to enhance and provide some of those 21st century learning opportunities. So that is a major driving factor, is to be able to have a facility that will accommodate 21st century learning styles, 21st century learning opportunities. Every child in Cumberland County deserves the opportunity to have access to a 21st century learning environment. Now, that does not take away from the historical significance of the building. Doesn't take away from the historical value and passion about the building and its legacy. But as education changes and becomes more advanced, the facility has to keep up with that. And sometimes buildings age out in the ability to do that. And you don't have enough space and amount of money it would take to add all those 21st century learning spaces in a building like Lillian Black. It would cost less to tear the building down and rebuild it. But we don't want to do that for historical reasons, but that's a driving issue, not just capacity, but what can the building provide inside? So I just want to share that perspective.
All right, the question about why Manchester was included. We were looking at several options.
That, sir, why is probably 2/3 of our students being left behind? I mean, when is that
Okay.
school is gonna need the same thing William Black's gonna need?
All right. As I mentioned earlier, there was a lot of need identified in the district. There's only so far we can go in different moves. Now, we're taking a step here to try and improve the situation that it's mostly going to hit Lily and Black. Unfortunately, we cannot hit Manchester. What we described earlier is these are the two, in order to put all of Manchester, one of the things we're seeing is move all of Manchester into W.T. Brown, move some of the current W.T. Brown that students that are from the Fayetteville area back into the Fayetteville area. Okay? We've seen your comments. We've seen your comments. We want to explain. Here's W.T. Brown. Here are the two areas that are currently assigned to W.T. Brown and have been assigned for how many years? Yeah,
7 years or 7 or
7
8.
years or so, okay? When we look at these two, this one, the next closest schools is Howard Hall and College Lakes. Both of those are full. There's not capacity to take any of these students out of this area and move them into Howard Hall or College Lakes. The same thing is true down here. The schools nearby, Ponderosa,
Eastham Van Story.
Eastham Van Story, are full or close to full. So we cannot move the students out of that area, all right? So there's not an option to remove these students from W.T. Brown. Without moving them, W.T. Brown doesn't have the capacity to do all of that, to move all of Manchester into.
So what about that third school that you're moving here? You're taking William Black, that Manchester, what's another school?
D.C. Barron, that's just another option. These are multiple options. They're not all going to happen. One of the options will be picked. Either the option A, which is just just Lillian Black being moved into W.T. Brown. That's it. Option B is Lillian Black and Manchester, that area of Manchester. And then option 3
And Berrien.
adds Berrien to the list. So there are 3 options, but not all 3 will be done. One of them will be done. The board will decide. And your feedback here about some of this stuff is what they need to hear and help inform that decision. All right?
Good afternoon. I'm a parent of 2 children at Lillian Black Elementary, and I have an older daughter who also attended every school in the area, elementary school. So I have 2 specific questions. The first one is there is a lot of mention of better programs and better resources, but can you all tell us some of the specific resources that are deemed so much better that we are going to experience once the school transfers? Also, and I am really looking for specifics because it's just a lot of, well, it's better, but you know, I want to hear what makes it better, and I want to hear what we've not been privy to at Lillian Black so far. Also, I want you all to be honest with us, and has the decision already been made? And if not, what is the deciding factor?
The decision has not been made. And we've presented the information to the board as a draft to say, look, this is what we're looking to provide the community. So the board was aware of what we were going to provide. We want to get feedback from the community. And then based on that feedback, those options would be reduced. Now, one option that is not on here for this area, the Douglas Fir area, and the T.C. Barron area, is that the board may choose not to do anything. All right? But there's no reason really to put that option on the presentation other than the fact that it is still there as an option. All right, and you're getting down to specifics. You've got the facilities guy up here, first of all. So I'm only got so much on that. Really, what it boils down more to is a flexibility. All right. Each year, a school is its own personality and it changes every year. All right. A school like W.T. Brown that has the space, the functional space, better functional spaces, has more flexibility to change and adapt each year to the needs of the students that come that year. The personality of your students, the needs of your students change every year. And here again, WT Brown provides an opportunity, more flexibility to address those. Who has not asked a question?
Excuse me, and good evening, and I apologize for you already answered the question because I came late. But if the change is approved, when will it take place?
This would start with the next school year, the 22-23 school year.
Hi, we're teachers at Manchester, and my question is, with the almost 300 kids being left behind at Manchester because 70-something are moving, then what state-of-the-art education will we be offered at Manchester who's left there? Like, what are we gonna get? Is there a deal on the table if all of our kids are not moved? What will we get to help our 200 and something kids that are still there?
That's a great question. And let me answer it this way. With a student assignment move, you look at all kinds of different criteria, all right, to try to look at the move. And that's why you have multiple options. And quite frankly, each option gains you something and probably loses you something, okay? Now, the idea here with Manchester is that if you notice, we call this a donut. This is the area we're talking about of Manchester. It is surrounded by Lily and Black right now, all right? And if the decision is to put Lily and Black and WT Brown, then Manchester, these people in Manchester will again be surrounded. So they're actually have a different school assigned between them and Manchester, the rest of Manchester. So often in these plans, what you try to do is remove these donuts because they're not in the right place for a student assignment plan, but you can't always resolve those all of them, okay? For the purpose of this, one of the options was to add that in there because it is a donut, it would be closer, all right? The flip side of it is it reduces the student count some at that school, but it is still larger than like Lily and Black is. So that's where the board and makes them, they look at the different options, what it provides for them, and tries to decide which one is the best one, that gains the best for the district.
Yeah, we would also.
Like,
And
will we get
already,
better?
we're already looking at how to enhance the academic program at that.
Good evening. I am Ms. Burse. I've been sitting in the back. I am the parent facilitator paraprofessional here at WT Brown. I'm not going to stand up here and woo you. I'm not going to stand up here and give you no false narrative. I have been with WT Brown since 2006 as a parent, as an involved parent. The firstborn is now 21. She went through these doors. The second born briefly through these doors, and then COVID changed everything. What I can say, I've been sitting in the back and I've been following social media, and I've been talking to the higher up to see how we can figure this out.
Sure.
What I do understand is that Lily and Black is a historic location. And when the question was asked, I was like, let us turn it into a community activity center. So I don't want nobody to think that the plan is, when it's all said and done, we're gonna tear down the building. That's not the intention. Some things we have to just flow with it, and we're not comfortable with it. Well, what I can say here, being at this school as an involved parent in 2006, I was moved into the position in 2012. It'll be 10 years here in June. And my experience here has been, as a parent, it's been rewarding. I have briefly been in Lily and Black as a guest with Mr. Watkins as a visual artist and exhibiting. I have been a guest at Manchester as well as a visiting artist, as a guest. I have not really had the opportunity to tour your school, but I hear and I listen. The problem that I have is, as a director of 2 outreach organizations, sometimes it's hard to reach the other two schools. And I hear these two schools are constantly left behind. You're left behind. This school, I work here, I got it, they're blessed, but the other two schools, I just can't touch. We want to be able to touch those other students. Now, here, and I'm knocking nobody, everybody's wonderful teachers. We've all been going through the gauntlet since March 13th, 2020. So we don't want nobody to think that anybody is chopping you down. I will go ahead and give you your praise now and your roses now. Okay, but what I can say here at W.T. Brown, we do have larger classrooms. Before the visiting school, we had a science lab, we had a math lab. We do have remediation teachers that come in and give that one-on-one. The classrooms are bigger. We do have EC classrooms, and they are accommodating to the child's needs. We do have a resource center as far as music. I'm not sure what's in both your schools because I have not toured your school. We do have an art room. Again, not sure what's going on in your class, but we do have a large art room. We do have a music room with all the music instruments. We have our cafeteria. We have the multi-purpose room where in the normal setting, we would have a lot of activities. Again, I don't want nobody to feel that nobody's hearing you. I hear you as a director of 2 outreach organizations. I want to be able to touch all kids. And Mayor Anthony's here, can vouch for that. Alderman Chadwick's here. I want to be able to touch all the kids. I understand that this is fluffing people's feathers and a lot of people are not comfortable with what is going on. But what I can say is if we collectively come together, work together, kind of sort of figure it out, and the changes for the kids. At the end of the day, I keep telling the kids here, you're the future. So in my house, you're the future. When I speak to my daughter, change is sometimes I have to do so she can see the future and do the right thing. It may not be what we like or what we want to do, but it's for the kids. Because at the end of the day, tomorrow is not promised to neither one of us, but we want to be able to set the tone, set the right road for our kids. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Let me,
Takes a second.
all right. Let me say something first, just a reminder what we're trying to do here tonight. With the questions here right now, we want to get questions that help clarify what is happening. All right. That's what we want to do when it comes to questions. But your feedback, we really need that done electronically with the methods that were provided to you, because we want to get every word of what you're saying recorded. So the Board of Education has an opportunity to hear it. So I appreciate the young lady that came up here and said what she said. Hope you put that all on the feedback. I know it's a lot. I appreciate the feedback needs to go electronically so we can make sure we get everything exactly like you want it to the board and they hear it, okay? Tonight, we want to have questions we want to answer. We want them to try to be clarifying questions that help explain something that you may not understand up here, okay? Thank you.
Hi, so just a question. I know we talked briefly about this before the meeting, but back, so W.T. Brown is around 25 years old. What is the general lifespan of a building, a school facility that you need to?
75.
It's difficult to say that because you have all the different life cycles. So life cycles run from a 5-year life all the way up to a 20, 30-year life. But what we do usually for assumptions and planning functions, we say 40 years for a facility. Now think about that though. The building doesn't change in 40 years. How much things have changed during that time frame, how much education changes and everything. That is still a long time. But quite frankly, if you replaced everything every 40 years, that price tag I told you a while ago of 100 million a year would be significantly higher. So, but 40 is a common factor that's used out there for the use of a facility, if you want a number, okay?
I also wanted to wanted to speak on a lot of the things that you've answered when people have asked you what will make this school better, why are you doing this, what the education quality is. I know Dr. Connolly talked about a 21st century education. Back in 2013, when this school was realigned before and the year-round program was taken out, the children from, what did they have then? That brought up the total number of children in 2014 to about 660 students at W.T. Brown. The school of choice was taken away. And that was a huge selling point in Cumberland County, that there was a year-round option, which I know is declining for Mark Whiteley. But that school of choice is something that bolsters your, when you talk about that betterment of your school. And Spring Lake no longer has, or this section of town, this area of town, because W.T. Brown is not in town limits. We no longer have a school of choice. We no longer have that draw to come here. So what do you expect when there has been a decline from 2013 to 2021 from 660 students to 207 students, and you're looking to fill this school? What's going to change this? What's going to take it from, if you're going to get that back up to, are my numbers right? I mean, you're basically looking at a 400 student decline in the last 10 years at the school, less than 10 years at the school.
There are a lot of factors that go into the change in memberships in the neighborhoods. Neighborhoods change constantly. That's why there's always a student assignment plan somewhere, right? Neighborhoods age out, which means basically that people that stay there is not a high transition area, but people that stay there, the kids grow up and move on, and then they don't have the students anymore. So a common term we use is age out of students. That can reduce your numbers. The numbers for Cumberland County have been dropping for, I think, 5, 6, 7 years in a row, slightly each year, okay? That has played a factor in this area. It could be more specific for Spring Lake for a reason or not, who knows? The past couple of years, COVID has taken an enormous hit on reducing the numbers. So there could be a lot of reasons, to include maybe what you were talking about. That could have played a part in it. I can't speak to that. I don't know. But there are a lot of factors that drive that. A lot of those I talked about actually, have happened. And so I know they caused an impact on that.
I think my biggest question is Spring Lake being looked at to have a school of choice? And will W.T. Brown once again see that? Or will you have, right now, everything is reactionary. You're looking at building facilities, you're looking at schools that need to be filled, you're looking at Lillian Black, which is a historic over 100-year-old building. My mother went to school there. It's on the cover of our history book in Spring Lake. It's a historic property. If you go in, school is gorgeous. It's a shame to see that school built today. It's really a flagship historical building in the town of Spring Lake. But I guess my question further is, you keep doing these realignment plans. There's a goal to have the 21st century education. You've got that goal, but where is the plan for the town of Spring Lake to put some resources that are long overdue into our hands to help Manchester, to help Lillian Black, to help W.T. Brown, to help our students, not just the buildings.
This is not on,
to your point, our academics department is currently engaging in a review of all our choice programs. What they are, where they are they in the right place, always publishing the right goals. So all of that has been reviewed simultaneously as this has been done, to your point.
I also have one more question too, and just a personal, my 4-year-old, we were talking about preschool and pre-K. We are slated for Lillian Black. When I went through the Cumberland County Lillian program to get him placed in a Cumberland County school for preschool, he was placed at Cliffdale Elementary School, which was a 20-minute drive for me.
if I had not been able to drive, my son might have been without a preschool option in the town of Spring Lake, which I think is a huge problem. We used to have, Mayred Elementary, kindergarten, used to have great foundational places for our children to start their education. It seems like that's no longer available in Spring Lake. He's now at Warrenwood Elementary, the exceptional child program.
Well, I'll tag back to what Dr. Conley just said, that all these areas are all constantly being looked at for ways to improve, to better serve. As that population moves around the district has to move their resources with them. So they are constantly looking at those types of things. Who has not asked a question yet? All right.
Yeah, Roland, I say this, the question has been asked, is this a done deal? And you said no. The only constant in Plan A and Plan B and Plan C is closing Lillian Black. These are my family members at Lillian Black back here. I think we'd like an answer. Is that part of Plan A, B, or C a done deal?
As I said earlier, there is another plan for every one of these in which the board decides not to do a change at all, okay? Or if the staff looks at it and the staff, based on some feedback or whatever, ends up recommending to the board not to do any of these at this time. I know another thing I hear is that we've gone through a lot of change. It's kind of mentioned earlier, the COVID, a lot of stuff is going on. So here's one more thing that's going to happen potentially, and it may not happen. But there is no decision has been made yet. That is why we wanted to have these community meetings, is to try to get feedback, okay? Now, I'll tell you, we've been advertising for how long on the website and sending stuff out? A couple of weeks? Had 22 responses is all I have so far on the information that's sent out. The same thing, the links that we've given you here tonight to fill out and provide feedback, that's the same thing. So please, I ask you to provide your feedback for the board. I think this lady, she's got you.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robin Chet, and I'm the Mayor Pro Tem of Spring Lake. I've heard every option tonight, but one of the things that concern me is that our community is still divided. I would love to see our community come together because we have 3 elementary schools, all in the same vicinity, and it's not equitable. It's just not. I'm a product of Manchester. Good things do come out of Spring Lake, okay? And I'm also a CCS teacher, but I know for a fact that the school that I currently teach at has more programs and resources. I want to see that for Spring Lake because Spring Lake needs to win. Our babies need to win. And I want to continue to support Spring Lake because we need something better for our babies. And so I don't see where we're bringing the community together at all. I still think we're separating the community. And I think that we can do something a little better than what we're doing. So I'm going to ask that y'all go back to the drawing board and do some consideration.
If you have some other ideas, please put them in the feedback. All right, we'd be more than glad to look at those ideas, okay? We appreciate that.
Okay, first thing, I've been in the education field for over 20 years, but I'm based out of Miami, Florida. So to me, see, I don't have the history with Lillian Black that these people have. I have the history with the school system. So for me, this sounds political. It sounds like this was a plan enacted about 10 years ago that said, you know what, we got extra capacity here. So we're gonna eventually close Lillian Black. Maybe 5 years ago, this was decided when as she mentioned, the population decreases. So then you guys realize, oh, we have 150 spots for Lillian Black. We're gonna make this happen because that economically doesn't make sense, regardless of what education they're providing. Now, my question goes to, so economically, yes, it makes perfect sense to close Lillian Black. for the school board. Now, my question is, Plan C only has a 27 student grace period. So this school can overpopulate overnight. What are you gonna do with Plan C when this school overpopulates? Are you just gonna send those kids back to Manchester? Are you gonna send them back to their home school? Because now Brown is not good enough for them, because now the school is overpopulated.
I'll go back to what I said earlier. You make a good point. It puts the number close, all right? That plan is the one that keeps TC Barron here on the site. That's TC Barron being 9 miles away from where they live, all right? We wanted that option on there because sometimes when you do this, when people have been, families have moved to a new location, and at first they weren't too crazy with it, but after a time they grow to love it, all right? There could have been a large feedback that TC Barron people wanted to stay at WT Brown, all right? So we wanted that option to be available on the table. It does, as I said earlier, you gain a little here, you may gain a little negative somewhere else. And we have to weigh the pluses and the minuses, the pros and the cons, and make a decision. As you say, a little bit of a negative here is we're getting closer to the capacity for this school.
It's 27 students, so that means the school, that means the classrooms are going to be at max capacity. When God forbid get an influx from the military, that the kids have to come here. Now you're at 2, 3, 4 students extra in the classroom. I've worked it, I've seen it, I know. I'm from Miami, Florida. We are over capacity completely.
Yep, we understand that, and that was a point that was made clear with staff, is that we didn't want to touch, we didn't want to have a target area in which we were not comfortable that the population would stay right long enough that we're not moving kids again. Okay, so we've considered that. We feel comfortable with that recommendation.
So to me, the only plan that makes sense, like I said, I'm looking at the school board. I'm not looking at, I understand the whole history, I get all that, but I'm looking at from the school board inside. The only plan that really makes sense to me is Plan B, because you still have 100 and something extra that capacity, and that can lead to that choice school that she was talking about, to bring back the choice school to community. In Miami, we call it magnet schools, but it would be able to bring back a benefit to Spring Lake. Because as you're seeing, we have an overcapacity. The majority is Black. So usually when you have these choice schools, it balances the structure. I mean, it's at 60%, so it's not over majority, but it will allow it to be, you can bring in people that don't have that opportunity to do it. I'm not gonna lie, when I found this out, I immediately enrolled I immediately applied for the choice school for my daughter to do the Spanish immersion, because I kind of know where this is going, working in the school system for 20 years. So the moment I saw Lillian Black out the door, I said, you know what, I got a plan ahead. What am I gonna do with my child to make sure that she has the best resources for her?
And that's what we're thinking all of you will be doing. You'll be thinking about your children and what's best for them. And that's why we try to provide as many options as we possibly can when we're looking at this. All right? Because option B may be great for me. Option C may be great for you. You know, option D may be great for you. Option nothing may be great for somebody else. So that's why you see multiple options on there, is to give everybody an opportunity to look at what's out there and see, try to work. We can't satisfy everybody, unfortunately, but we can try to satisfy as many people. But the important part is the education of our students, that they get the right academic chance out there to succeed.
We all want to make sure it's for our students.
Understand. Hold on, please. So let's stay with people raising their hand. All right. Appreciate it. If you want to, again, if you've got feedback, please plan to put it in the board thing. And right now, let's just try to answer any clarifying questions. We've been here an hour. Don't want to keep it too long, but we will try to answer all your clarifying questions. So,
Good evening. I just want to piggyback off a little bit of what she said. I'm actually the guardian at William Black, and the numbers at our school, I'm not sure when we took the survey on the numbers of our school, but our numbers have grown to 201. So I want to know, if we do go forward with this plan, we do move our students, all of our students here, the fact that we have grown just from 175 to 201 in less than 2 months, what happens when we do reach the capacity here? Are we just gonna split the kids up again and move this again? Like, what are we gonna do with that?
And this is, again, back to Mark here. Mark deals continuously with student assignment projections. He gets the lucky opportunity to try to guess what's going to happen next year, all right, or the year after that. Does a good job at it too.
Yeah.
So the numbers change all year round. I'll let Mark talk.
Yeah, I mean, numbers do fluctuate from time to time of year, and when we started developing the plan, it was very early in the school year, so they may be a little larger now. That's kind of normal. I wouldn't say your school is really growing per se. If you look at last year, it would be very similar to what the past year. As far as, I would, I do agree. Your point on the being close to capacity is a definite factor. It's one of the factors in the plan. And the school board can actually alter the plan somewhat if they want us to alter it. I mean, you could drop if they wanted to keep TC Barron here, for example, they could drop the Manchester part out, but keep the TC Barron thing here, students here. So, I mean, there is alterations that can be done to the plan at some point. I think the idea is that we would like to allow, some space for growth in the future. We do think one of the reasons we talked about not putting all of Spring Lake into W.T. Brown was actually, I think Spring Lake as a town is doing some things that will hopefully bring some regeneration to this area. And I do think there could be some growth with that over time. Probably won't be in a year, won't be in 2 years, but it might be in 5 or 6 or 7 years. So we don't want to get rid of Manchester per se, bring everybody here and then not have any capacity to do that down the road.
Yes, I just want to encourage everybody, we have laptops in the back. I know you received the QR code to share your feedback. I'm on team with trying to compile it, so I encourage you to please give your feedback through the link. If you would like to use the laptop, you may go to the back of the room and one of the ladies will help you and assist you. There was also several viewers online. I want to encourage those of you who are live streaming. We do see your comments, but we also encourage you to use the link that is on the screen. There was one clarification question on the live stream that I did want to share before the night ended, just so that it could be clarified. It was related to pre-K. They said that they did not see where pre-K students would attend in the plans presented.
Okay. Yeah. And the pre-K programs are generally, determined by the school board. And as far as the federal programs office, obviously W.T. Brown has some pre-K now. And the pre-K, and that will again be up to the administration as far as they adding any additional pre-K. They're not included in the number, but they are subtracted in the capacity. Okay, so the current pre-K that's why the capacity is listed as lower.
I just want to be clear, space is reserved for them. The numbers up here don't reflect pre-K because they are not counted in the numbers when you talk normally for schools.
I'm parent from William Black. I'm parent for 2 students, and they are parents for years. And I want to know how you're going to handle it. For my Chester student to come to T. Brown, when I find out that school have bullying, and how you going to mix good children, because William Black, they have the best education for my kids. And I want the William Black is still open, because not only for the good education, it's because they people care for what happened to the student. Otherwise, it's going to be a problem, because how are you going to manage your children who have problems already, like speech problems, pathology problems? How are you going to handle children with special needs? If you're putting Manchester students with T. Brown and William Black all in one school, that's going to be a mess. So what are you going to do about it?
Taking longer.
Dime.
So when it comes to children with IEPs, their
to leave it
individual
on.
needs will be met regardless of what school they're at. The IEP follows the child, so whether they are at Linden Black, Manchester, W.T. Brown, T.C. Barron, whatever, that child's needs will be met regardless.
And bullying is not accepted anywhere.
Anyway, we don't accept bullying anyway.
And we need to wrap this up.
These two have been waiting for quite some time.
We'll take some more questions. I do ask those that would like to use the equipment to go ahead. You can still hear what's being said and you can be putting the information in if you want to. But again, the link you can use if you have a smartphone, you can use that. If you want to sit back in the comfort of your home and use your technology that you might have there, you can use that, fill it in. Again, there is another meeting of a different target area on Thursday. And after that, we will be consolidating all the feedback together and getting it ready. It will be presented to our board in advance of the Auxiliary Services Committee meeting that is on Tuesday. Okay, so that they have a chance to take a look at it. That meeting, no decision will be made at that meeting. That decision is just to hear the feedback and discuss what was generated with the community meetings. Okay. That meeting is to discuss the TC Barron area, and that is Ferguson, to be at Ferguson Easley. So the other part of this is to reassign TC Barron into areas closer to the TC Barron homes. There is a little bit of TC Barron in this part because, like we said, they were already here and there might be people interested in staying here. But that one is to discuss TC Barron's redistributing those students throughout the area to nearby schools nearer to their homes instead of up here.
Okay, so that means not targeting Brown, that means not targeting those because the Brown, the TC Barron students that's the plan C that we have.
No, there is a plan that includes TC Barron at W.T. Brown, but this plan will be talking about schools around TC Barron.
Oh.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So that just will not be this area.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent, Board of Education, Town Manager. I just have a quick question. How long has this extra space been at W.T. Brown before TC Barron came? What's part of it? Is it all stuff?
Yeah, well, there's been space. I mean, W.T. Brown, like I said, was over 600 at one point, probably close to a decade ago. And it's gone through decline ever since for various reasons. What happened at TC Barron was kind of an emergency situation. We had the space here at W.T. Brown and we wanted to keep all the students together, so we brought them here. As far as, so there has been space for a while.
For a while, okay. So in other words,
There have been other times when student assignment was discussed, right?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because he was talking to me at that point, but regularly, we have discussions about student assignment. I mean, it happens every year within staff. We're looking at future plans, looking at population growth and densities and how we think it's going to go in the future. And whoever my supervisor is at that time, I'm always running plans through them. Mr. Josiah Moore's only been here for about 3 years. So he wasn't privy to any of that before that. But it is something we do as an ongoing basis, and we have these discussions. Now, whether sometimes it's brought to the superintendent, and sometimes he may take it to the school board members to get kind of feedback on whether they're wanting to make a move or not.
Or there's community feedback too.
Yeah.
It's discussed on a regular basis.
So I was listening to her talk about Manchester. So how did it come to the decision to close Lillian Black versus Manchester? If Manchester seems to have some of the same issues that you're saying that Lillian Black had, why would, like, what was the deciding factor between those two schools when they're saying you're getting students left behind? And like the parents are saying Lillian Black is okay for right now, but clearly Manchester parents are not happy with their.
Oh, no, that's not the case.
So I just want to know what the deciding factor is between the two. If they're both declining, why you would choose one over the other.
Lillian Black is in significantly, specifically poorer condition than Manchester. Manchester, probably when you look at the district, I know I'm going to get some surprises here. Manchester ends up ranking about middle of the pack for the district when it comes to looking at the condition of the facility. All right. Lillian Black, like I said, was up in the top 3.
Amanda Virginia again. I by no means have anything against Manchester. My teachers are amazing and I love our staff there. So it's my understanding, because I also was a teacher in this county at one point, funding for the school goes based on attendance and numbers. So if we're taking kids out of that school and leaving the almost 300 behind, that's less money for the school. And also, if we do leave everybody there, or even some of them there, how are we ensuring that they're still getting the same education as the kids here when they already are lacking things as simple as a gym or school tutors or playgrounds that are worth anything for those kids to be playing on? Like, if we're leaving them there, and how are we investing back into the school then to make that a similar education to yours?
Let me make sure that everybody understands the money is usually tied per child. Okay, as you mentioned, so it is to educate that child. If that money moves, it moves for wherever the child is going. That need is not necessarily needed at the other location. So you shouldn't be losing more than you need. Okay, you understand what I'm saying?
I do, but just how do you ensure that in 20 years that school doesn't end up, now we need to find a place for these 300 kids to go, just like you're closing Lillian Black possibly?
That is why we will continuously be looking at assignment plans. When we sat down, we started talking about, is it time to look at an assignment plan now? We sat down, looked at the criteria that would be considered for this particular move, because frankly, discussion talked about a system-wide, all right, reassignment plan. But pandemic numbers, the impact on the membership numbers due to pandemic made our estimates questionable. In other words, we're not as comfortable with trying to do moves throughout the entire district, okay? Because we don't know once COVID goes away, what's going to happen. So we had a discussion. There was actually a board retreat. We discussed that also at the board retreat. Everybody felt comfortable that we not touch other schools that we're not comfortable with, because we don't want to have to move kids another year or 2 years after we just moved.
Right.
So that was the big reason there, okay? Did I answer everything?
So how do we get the education there that you guys are raising about this school? Like, it's not good enough for Manchester the way it is?
And that's what part of the capital improvement plan is trying to do, is improve all of our facilities. And we use a priority system. That priority system includes the performance at the school, all right, performance levels at the school. It includes utilization at the school, and it includes the facility condition. All right. Now, I'll tell you, the facility condition has a higher weight, they're weighted. But if you can't have power, if you can't have, you know, lights or something like that, or electricity, you got water or something, that's a bigger distraction to the learning environment than the other things. So we use the other factors, utilization and performance, so that we can also try to target schools that need improvement, that is more program space oriented, or makes the school more inviting for the membership to increase, instead of them going somewhere else.
I got a question about teacher reassignment. When I was working for
Staff questions, we're not here to do the staff questions. We had a separate meeting with that, but we'd be glad to address those separately.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I mean, I guess a quick question, like, you could say yes or no. When I was working at Barbara Goldman Senior High, they had a reassignment like you guys are having, and the teachers that were, at Barbara Goldman were able to automatically get that position at that other reassignment school to have that job security.
Human Resources had a webinar with opportunity for all the staff at all these schools that are included in this, had an opportunity to take their questions. They are working on frequently asked questions list. In fact, I think I saw an email where it was sent out today with the latest list of questions. By the way, we're going to do the same thing. Some of the questions that you've asked here, were also asked online. We're going to provide those answers and put them as frequently asked questions on the website for the student assignment. So if you need to go back and refer to something, hopefully we'll have those questions and answers there for you, okay? If you put a question into the feedback system, again, we want feedback. Hopefully we get some of your presentations, like everybody couldn't be here tonight. There's people online. You put those questions in the feedback, we'll also try to answer them there, and we'll add them to the frequently asked questions so you can see the answers to them. All right?
But Mr. Zybor, so every staff member will be taken care of. No one will lose the job.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah. If boss can say it. All right.
There's the lady over here.
Last question, do you all plan to continue to use Lillian Black once it's transferred to that here?
Yes.
The building, will it continue to utilize by the school board?
Well, I'll tell you, my inclination, this is Joe speaking, but my inclination for recommendation to board members and cabinet is that you don't give up facilities that you own, because you never know what's going to happen. There are situations where it's proved that it's better to, but I think we will be looking at we'll be looking at educational options first to help with the district and the academic programs in the district for that building, if we choose to do this.
All right.
All right, I want to say thank you. Appreciate coming out here. Appreciate your interest. And again, please take advantage of the feedback so we can help inform our board members.
Yeah, you didn't even have to do all the questions. 'Cause they weren't. Yeah, I didn't